All right, for page 3, we're going to talk about function notation. So if you notice in the very top section, it says evaluate the function when x equals -2, 0, and 5. So we know what x is, and remember f of x, this is just a fancy way of saying y. G of x is just a fancy way of saying y. So if it confuses you, write it out to the side as y equals -2x. So then what this question's saying is, if x is -2, what's y? So we're going to plug -2 right there in for x. So -2 times -2 is +4. So if x is -2, y is 4. So the next one, g of 0, this means what is y when x is 0? So we're going to plug in 0 for x. So we get -2 times 0, which is 0. And then lastly, we're going to plug in 5 for x. -2 times 5 is -10. And you're going to do a similar thing on numbers 14 and 16. Number 17 is just a little bit different. So instead of plugging in a number for x, notice it doesn't say x equals 13. It says f of x equals 13. So this time you are not going to plug 13 in for x because x doesn't equal 13. In fact, we are trying to find x. We don't know what x is. So since f of x equals 13, we're going to plug 13 in where the f of x is. And again, if you change them to y's, maybe it'll make a little bit more sense to you, but then we'll have an equation that says 13 equals 3x minus 5. Well, from here, you just have a normal equation. Our goal, again, always go back to the goal, is to find x, which means we need to get x by itself. So now that we have this nice little equation, we're going to add 5 to both sides. So 18 equals 3x. Now to get x the rest of the way by itself, we're going to divide both sides by 3. So x is going to be 6. So if y is 13, that means that x equals 6. Number 19 is another function notation problem, but this time we're going to involve a graph. So the difference here, again, it says find x. So x is what you're looking for. Well, on a graph, your x's are down here. So these are the numbers we're going to be looking for. But it says we're finding x such that f of x equals 7. Well, remember, f of x is a fancy way of saying y. So we're trying to find x so that y equals 7. So what we're going to do, we're going to come up to our graph and we're going to look right up here at 7. So this is where our y is 7. So where our y is 7 on our line, we go across and it's right here. This is where y equals 7. So if you trace that down, we see that y is 7 when x is 3. So our answer is x equals 3 because the point 37 is on your graph. So that means when x is 3, y is 7, and that's what we were trying to find. All right, you're going to do a similar thing on number 20 right there. And then 21, these can tend to be a little bit tricky. It sometimes helps me to write it out to the side. What are we talking about? So it says C of T. So when they're together, when the C is involved, it's the number of customers. But if you're just looking at the T, what's in the parentheses, T stands for hours after 8 a.m. So let's look in the parentheses here. So this would be 0 hours after 8 a.m. This would be 5 hours after 8 a.m. This would be 6 hours after 8 a.m. and this would be 8 hours after 8 a.m. So what this first one would say, 0 hours after 8 a.m. Well, 0 hours after 8 a.m. is 8 a.m. So this is happening at 8 a.m. So at 8 a.m., remember when the C is involved, we're talking about the number of customers. So at 8 a.m., there are 10 customers. So there are 10 customers. All right. Part B, similar. I think you can do that one on your own. So let's take a look at part C. So first we have to know, this is 6 hours after 8 a.m. So let's count. 6 hours after 8 a.m. That would be 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 p.m., 1 p.m., 2 p.m. So this is 2 p.m. and this one is 2 more hours after that, so 4 p.m. Well, clearly 2 p.m. doesn't equal 4 p.m., but we're talking about C of 2 p.m., C 4 p.m. So that means the number of customers at 2 p.m. is equal to the number of customers at 4 p.m. Maybe they both had 500 customers. Maybe at both times there were 100 customers. However many customers there were at 2 p.m., that's how many there were at 4 p.m.